Do you want to know more about corporate restructuring law which is there in India today? Please note, in corporate restructuring law and insolvency, the most important buzzing word we are going to see are mergers and acquisitions, and we call it M&A. Do you want to know more about M&As? Watch the video till end. You will be able to understand what is this mergers and acquisitions are all about. Before even getting into the video, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for the latest notification from our channel. Mergers and acquisitions, M&As, is what the common terminology we use it in the corporate restructuring law. Basically, we need to understand the primary difference between these mergers and acquisitions. Please note, mergers and acquisitions are two different terminologies which is being clubbed together, and then we are going to see it under the whole law which is relating to corporate restructuring. Coming to what is merger. So, merger is one of the important concept where the entities will basically get clubbed or consolidated into each other. So, clubbing of the entities, or two entities are coming together, will be called as merger. Take for example, there are two companies A and B. A and B wants to club together, so that in case of merger what happens is either A or B will survive. A will transfer the business to company B, or B will transfer its business to company A. So that the end result will be, in case of merger, only one entity will survive. There is various forms of mergers, the common terminology we use it merger, but amalgamations and demergers are also coming within the category of mergers itself. Coming to amalgamation. Amalgamation is a concept where two or more entities will come together to form a new entity. That is the primary difference between merger and amalgamation. In case of merger, there is no formation of new entity. Whereas in case of amalgamation, there is formation of a new entity. So that two entities, take for example A and B. A and B will transfer its business into a newly formed entity called AB. So that A and B will not survive, and a newly formed entity AB will survive. That is why we call it amalgamation. In case of demerger, that is also coming within the definition of merger itself, or within the concept of merger instead of calling it definition. In case of demerger, there will be lot of verticals within an organization. Take for example, a company is into manufacturing of tires, and it is into manufacturing of other machinery tools relating to the automobile industry, and then it is into manufacturing of sound equipments, let us presume. So, one part or one vertical, take for example the tire business of that entity has to be taken away. Then they will demerge only the tire business, and then they will make it a new entity. That would become demerger. So that two entities will survive, whereas one vertical from the main entity will be taken out and it will be passed on to a new entity. This we would call it as a demerger. So basically, in case of mergers and amalgamations, this is what the primarily that we should keep in mind. In case of merger, there is no formation of new entity, one of the entities will survive. In case of amalgamation, there will be formation of new entity. The entity which is losing its identity, we call it transferor company, and the entity which will flourish and then which will come out of a new entity, or the entity which will survive in common language if I have to say, that will be called as transferee company. The company which is transferring the assets, they are called as transferor company, and the company which is getting the assets transferred in its name, they will be called as transferee company. Transferee company will be the surviving entities. Coming to the other part is acquisition. Acquisition, the primary objective of acquisition will be to hand on control over another entity. How I can exercise control over another entity? Either I can have majority shares in my name, or my board of directors in my control, or basically with respect to, in case of a number of members, like majority of the members are in agreement with me. So basically the objective in case of acquisition is to overall hang on the control over the company. That will be my primary objective. Whereas in case of mergers, the objective will be basically the consolidation of the entities, whereas in case of acquisitions, it is not consolidation of entities, it will be having only the control. So primarily, to ensure that the primary difference to understand between the mergers and acquisitions will be, in case of merger, only one entity will survive and the consolidation of business is going to happen, whereas only one entity will survive, either a newly formed entity in case of amalgamation or only surviving entity in case of a merger. Or when it comes to the acquisition, the primary difference is in case of acquisition both the entity will survive, whereas the control over the management of the company will get shifted from one person to another person. This is all about mergers and acquisitions in general. We need to specifically talk about. If you need more about, if you want to learn more about this particular subject on corporate restructuring law and insolvency, please fill up the Google form which is being given in the description box below, and you can even subscribe to our or you watch our Telegram channel, and then for more details you can visit our Ekcel Academy website. If you have any questions, please comment below. We will be able to answer your questions. If you like this video, please share to your friends and then comment and then press the like button. If you need anything else in this particular topics as well as the subject from the corporate restructuring law and insolvency, please feel free to write to us. We will be able to assist you. Thank you.